name is Simon and Elisha. Welcome you to Crossroads Church. We are so glad you are joining us, whether it's here in the building or online. If you are willing and able, would you please stand and sing with us? We can say all of the right things, preach a sermon all day long, and still get it wrong. Gotta have love. Oh, they're gonna know us by our love. And we could build the tallest steeples, lift our voices to the sky, but they'll only get so high without love. Oh, they're gonna know us by our love. So come on, all my sisters and brothers, we can all give a little more help to each other when it's all said and done. They're gonna know us by our love. We can't get to where we're going, we decide to let them go. All our reasons to withhold all our love. Oh, never make it without love. Oh, so come on, all my sisters and brothers, we can all give a little more help to each other when it's all been said and done. We're gonna know us by our love.
Welcome to Crossroads Church. Whether you're connecting online, in person, or on demand, thank you for making this time part of your week. If you are new to Crossroads, you might be asking yourself, what is this place all about? Well, it's pretty simple. Peace on earth. We are an open and affirming community of people committed to following the peacemaking path of Jesus. And this peacemaking path leads us to focus our work on rewriting what we call the 5 unacceptable truths. These unacceptable truths are 5 realities that hinder human flourishing and destroy peace on earth. Together, we work to replace spiritual emptiness with spiritual vitality, poverty with physical and financial flourishing, fear of the other with inclusion and affirmation, illiteracy with education and opportunity, and modern-day slavery with freedom. This is what we mean when we say, hope is here. Over the next hour, we will experience the divine mystery together as we sing a few songs, listen for wisdom, and share in communion so that we might leave here inspired and equipped to follow the peacemaking path of Jesus in our everyday, normal lives. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now and take a hand. Help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. So come on, all my sisters and brothers, we can all give a little more help to each other when it's all been said and done. We're gonna know us by our love. When it's all been said and done, we're gonna know us by our love.
Great job, everyone. Keep singing with us on this next song. A million volts in a pool of light, electricity in the room tonight. I'm born from fire, faith and no fear for the fight. You pull hope from defeat in the night. There's an image of you in my mind. Could be mad, but you might just be right. We are the people we've been waiting for. Out of the ruins of pain war, army of lovers never seen before. We are the people we've been waiting for. We are the people of the open hand. The streets of love and just Notre Dame. We'll build it better than we did before. We are the people we've been waiting for. We are the people we've been waiting for. Broken bells and a broken church. A heart that hurts is a heart that works. From a broken place, that's where the victory is won. 'Cause your faith and no fear for the fight. Pull hope from defeat in the night. There's an image of you in my mind. Could be mad, but you might just be right. We are the people we've been waiting for. Out of the ruins of pain road, army of lovers never seen before. We are the people we've been waiting for. We are the people of the open hand. The streets of love that just Notre Dame. We'll build it better than we did before. We are the people we've been waiting for. We are the people we've been waiting for. We are the people we've been waiting for.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. Thank you. Please have a seat. My name is, are we on? There we go. Good morning. My name is Jim Adams. In my everyday normal life, I'm an engineering professor at Colorado State. And, you know, other things I do is a little joking around. I have a few things to share with you this morning. So as you came in today, you should have received a program. If not, raise your hand and one of the room hosts will bring you a program. If you're new here today, welcome. All right. The program folder is designed especially for you. It's got lots of information you might find helpful, and especially to get you to know more about Crossroads. There are a few things I want to point out. Everyone take out your Connect card, all right? Or click on it if you're in the app. And by the way, the app is working again. Woo! It's important for me. The Connect card is for everyone to fill out every week. If you're a regular attender like me, just fill out your name and an email or number and just check the regular attender part, right? But if you're new here, check the new here box and fill out as much information as you're comfortable with. This helps Crossroads help you. If this is your first time here, we have a gift for you. It's a book that's called The God We Never Knew. It's been especially helpful for me as I've been deconstructing some of the ways of thinking about God that were handed to me that don't really make sense for me anymore. So on your way out of the auditorium, just grab a copy off one of the tables in the back. Well, even though it's not quite Thanksgiving, Christmas is just around the corner. And that means we're back to bell ringing. Each year, Crossroads partners with the Salvation Army to provide bell ringers at the Walmart up here on 65th, not far at all. Each year during the holidays, volunteer bell ringers make a lasting impact in our community. The donations that are collected at the Salvation Army, Kettles fund vital programs that serve Loveland all year round. The Salvation Army is able to provide social services assistance, homeless shelters, disaster relief, children's programs, rehabilitation services, anti-human trafficking efforts, and so much more. Your time makes a real difference. By volunteering to ring a bell for just 2 hours, you can raise enough money to feed a family of four for an entire week. Bell ring shifts begin November 21st, not far at all. Check the box on your Connect card, and we'll send you all the info you need to sign up. It's really easy. You just go to the app and just fill in your name, pick a time, fill in your name, and just go there. It's really easy to do. You can also find all the information to sign up in the Crossroads app, or stop by the table in the atrium, and the team will help you get registered. That's all I have for you right now. There are no talk notes this week. Sorry, fill-in people like me. But Ryan will be up in just a minute to get us going. Thank you. Oh, he's back here.
Give yourselves a great big hand. That's because of you all. So today is Annual Ministry Celebration Sunday, and so the next 2 weeks we're really kind of focusing in on this idea of gratitude, and we thought it'd be great to just put some footage together from the last year and the things that we've done together, and so that's what that is. It's great to see everybody. My name is Ryan. I am the lead pastor here at Crossroads Church, which is a place that really believes in making space for everyone and making the space for especially those who may feel disheartened by or disconnected with or disenfranchised by or deconstructing their faith. And so we are glad that you are here. I am a white, cisgendered, heterosexual male, which means I have all kinds of privilege, which means I certainly worked hard in life, but I did not have to work harder because of my skin color or who I loved or where I was born. I didn't have to work harder because of my gender, and I know that that is not the case for everyone else. And so part of, for me, my spirituality, walking this peacemaking path of Jesus, is understanding how to create that space where that privilege can be afforded to everyone. Philippians chapter 2 tells us that Christ, even though Jesus had every status, considered equal with God, set aside all of those privileges and became human, took on this idea, this image of becoming like a servant on our behalf. And so we try to live that out. We're trying to walk that path here, this peacemaking path. And so whoever you are, wherever you are, however you come into this space, whether you are skeptical or certain, or whether you are hopeful or hurting, you're welcome here. And I do hope you join us as we walk this path together, all right? So is there any way possible that we're going to be able to focus on something other than our business meeting today? Just for a few minutes. There's no talk notes. How many of you are a little freaked out about that? Because at least talk notes gave you hope. You're like, oh man, he doesn't have talk notes. I've prepared half the words as usual, okay? So everybody take a nice deep breath. But listen, before we jump into the talk, I do want to just say something. A few weeks ago, I talked about this thing that we're going to be voting on today, and I shared about this opportunity. I shared that our church building has been a financial, a space of just financial struggle for a part of our history, a long part of our history, and in doing that, I shared about this current opportunity that we have. I mentioned in that time when I shared, I mentioned a few things, a few specific events that have happened in the history of our church that were told to me as I was interviewing, being recruited, as just here's kind of the reality of where things are. And these circumstances had contributed to the financial stress and strain at the time. And here's the thing, I was careless enough in my words, okay, that at least one person came to me very hurt and feeling that I was blaming past leadership for our current realities. And the truth is, I should have been much clearer. I shouldn't have left any room for that. And so I want to say those seasons, that part of our history, I don't think about Crossroads Church as like pre when I got here and then post when I got here. I think of one history. And those seasons in our history were navigated with courage and vision by our leaders who faithfully balanced this big tension, as there always is in nonprofit, in church world, between financial difficulty and effective life-giving ministries. And while I know that intention means very little, outcome is what matters, my intent was never to criticize our past leadership in any way, shape, or form, but to just offer context that our facility has in fact been a struggle to maintain for many, many years. And that is not the fault of any person, okay? And that struggle has continued under my leadership. In fact, it has been exacerbated under my leadership. Okay? Like, so please, please, please know that all our history leads us to a place here. My comments should never, I hope everybody understands that it's not like I am in no way blaming our current realities on anyone or anything in the past. If anything, like we could probably roll the tape and find where I have been very unsuccessful in a lot of ways. But at any rate, in my attempt to help us understand a broader picture, so I just want to say clearly again, I am grateful for the pastors and the staff and the leaders who have guided our church through every chapter, right? Their faith, yes, please. Absolutely. Right? I mean, their faith, their perseverance, their commitment. Many of you have been here through all of these seasons, right? Your faith, your perseverance, your commitment have laid a foundation that we stand on now. And without that vision, without that work, we wouldn't even have the opportunity to dream about the next season of our church. We wouldn't have the equity in this building to be having conversations like that. So every generation of leadership in every church faces its own unique challenges and opportunities. And ours right now is to carry that same faith and courage with us forward, to steward our resources wisely, and to continue being a unique light for our region, for our city, for communities across northern Colorado, okay? So please forgive me. Please know that I would never, I just don't think like that. That's not even it, but I totally understand how it could have been and how it was perceived that way. So I will continue to try not to be careless with my words, but it is my spiritual gift. Okay. Whew. So this week, these past 2 weeks have been weeks. As I was preparing for these next 2 weeks, and I'm very happy to say that after next Sunday, you get a week or two without me talking. So thank you for that. It's been a long stretch. So we're coming into this season, right? And I found myself thinking a lot about gratitude, right? Does anybody else this time of year just start thinking about that, right? It's kind of natural. Thanksgiving is coming. We think about gratitude, what it really means to give thanks in every season of our life. And I know, I just want to pause and say this too, that so today there's this vote that's happening. It's an idea, and that's wonderful. But I also know that I've had conversations today with folks, you've walked into this space with really big things going on in your life, far bigger than a vote for our church. And I just want us to hold that those are the real things that matter in our lives, right? And this certainly matters and it's important. But for those of you that come in here, I know even from this past week, there have been circumstances and there has been death and there has been longing and all of those things you bring into this space. And I just think as a community, we need to honor that the love of one another, right, should supersede anything else that we're trying to think through. And so we honor and see that taking place. And when you're going through stuff like that, it is kind of an interesting time to think about gratitude, right? In a time of year where we pause and we reflect on what has been, we try to look back with gratitude for the people in our lives. I think about our church and where we are in this moment, and I've looked back with a lot of gratitude at getting to be a part of this story and having our lives intersect with it. And we look back in our everyday individual lives, and we see like people who've worked hard for us, and we see grace that has been brought into our lives, right? And so we can kind of go, that's amazing. But like sometimes gratitude, I don't know about you, but it's not all that simple. Like, does anybody ever have moments where like gratitude is kind of hard or difficult? Anybody ever feel that? If not, you can go take a break for the next 15 minutes, right? But it isn't always that simple. Sometimes it feels easy, like we've talked about, when everything's fallen into place, right? You can just feel the divine goodness. Everything is downstream. It's wonderful. But there are other times where gratitude feels quite complicated. And it can almost feel impossible. And there are those moments in my own life where I really do struggle to say things like, thank you, God. Even when good things happen to me. Sometimes I struggle. I look at things in my life that I consider to be good, or that we might, in kind of church world, call blessings, right? Which I think are oftentimes curses, but we think of them as blessings because we run them through a filter of like our culture and what our culture tells us is good, and turns out they weren't so good sometimes, But sometimes I have a hard time with, thank you, God, for this good thing in my life, because I know the pain and the heartache that exists all around the world. And I know that for me, sometimes to ascribe agency to God for the good things that happen in my life, in some way, I think I have to ascribe agency to God for the bad things that are happening in this world. And so that becomes really a challenge for me. And I feel like, man, this good thing in my life happens, but at whose expense? Like, who ends up carrying the burden for my blessing? And I don't want to imply ever that I believe that God has somehow done something for me in my own life, and that somehow God withheld something from someone else, right? And that's the real challenge of faith. That's the challenge of spirituality and gratitude. And that tension is real. And it's this idea that gratitude I have to find an agent to express my gratitude to. Like, if there's something in my life, I need to find who's responsible for that and thank them. And part of my own spirituality, and I think what has been healthy, is to learn that gratitude doesn't need that. Like, gratitude can exist as a thing that doesn't necessarily, that I might not ever know, like, the agency behind that. And that's kind of what I've been learning, that to have a heart full of gratitude for the things in my life, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? All of that stuff, the struggles and the joys, the moments of swimming upstream and the moments of gliding downstream, right? That those don't always have to have a person that I can identify, or a God that I can identify as behind, but I can still have a gratitude, I can still have a grateful spirit that shapes my outlook. Because I'm learning that gratitude doesn't erase suffering. My gratitude does not erase your suffering. And gratitude doesn't deny pain. My gratitude doesn't deny the pain I might experience in another area or season of my life. My gratitude doesn't need to deny your pain. But what I'm finding to be really true about gratitude in this season of my life as a parent, as a spouse, as a professional, is that gratitude is how we resist despair. That gratitude is a mechanism in our lives that we can leverage at difficult times, that we can live into, that we can understand as this kind of barrier, this guard, this shield against feelings of despair. And when we give thanks, even for the small things, we're somehow joining in this divine work of bringing light into the world. That when I can have a disposition of gratitude in the difficulties and in this despairing moments, right? I'm not denying the pain of my moment, my reality, my experience, but I'm, in a way, fighting from that pain becoming despair. And so there's this really beautiful passage that maybe you've heard of if you've been around the Bible for a while, in this letter called 1 Thessalonians. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16 through 18. The Apostle Paul writes this, and he says, "Rejoice always, Pray continually. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. How many of you have ever heard that verse before? You're like a veteran. You're like, I had to memorize that one, Ryan. I had the buzzer, whatever. You were unfortunate enough to be I'm just kidding. See, that's my spiritual gift right there. It just came out, right? And these are the closing words, really, some of the closing words of Paul's first letter to this church in Thessalonica. We call it Thessalonians. A little bit of context, this letter is probably the first piece of literature that we have from, it's probably the oldest piece of literature in the New Testament. So a lot of times we think that the Gospels came first. The Gospels are actually the latest literature that we have. The letters that are authentically Paul, that most scholars would say these portion of letters were probably most likely written by the historical Paul. Thessalonians is kind of the first one, probably written about 50 AD, so maybe 20 years after the death and resurrection of Jesus. Somewhere in that range. So it's a fairly new church, maybe 15, 20 years old. Not too much younger than our church, right? Which is approaching 30. How many of you remember when you approached 30? Right? I don't know. There's something happens in you, when you kind of approach. Richard Rohr says that for every 100 years, humanity matures one. So think we're in the 21st century, right? So we're 21. Remember we knew everything when we were 21, right? So this is one of the earliest pieces that we have in our tradition, Christian writing. And Paul's writing to this very young church in the city of Thessalonica, which is a part of northern Greece right now. And this was a community, again, of new believers, primarily probably a mixture of Jewish believers, and maybe some Gentile believers, but my guess would be it'd be a lot of Jewish believers early on. That's where Paul kind of began to do his work. He would go where Jews would gather to worship, and he would talk about Jesus, and folks would retain their Jewish identity, but they would in some ways be following this teacher, this prophet, this person, this divine being, Jesus, through Paul. And so this community of new believers was just trying to live out their faith in a world that didn't understand them in their context. Now, how many of you ever feel like you're trying to live out your faith in a Christian context that doesn't understand you? Does anybody ever feel that way? Look around and be like, what? Huh? That's been my story for the last 15 years, I think, of wow, we know two very different Jesuses. And that's okay. We got to work through this somehow, right? But that feeling of the world around you doesn't get you. You don't understand it. There's all kinds of social pressures. There was persecution, certainly, that this community was facing, probably from within their own families in Jewish contexts. There was a lot of anxiety about the future would hold. Remember, Paul was this guy who believed that the world was coming to an end in his generation. He was very apocalyptic, right? Now when we hear people talking about dates, the world's going to end, we kind of go woohoo, hold on a second. But that was Paul, right? Super intense. He got that part wrong. It's okay. It's all right. I don't know about you. I get things wrong all the time. Give Paul a break. God didn't have to be perfect, all right? So Paul's writing to them, and he's encouraging them, and he's reminding them that even when life feels uncertain, you're not alone. Even when life feels uncertain, God is still at work. The divine is present. Love is at work. Right? When people gather together for the sake of love and to bear witness to grace, right? To bear witness that justice will prevail, that the resurrection is God's no to the injustices of the world, right? That idea that God chooses the way of Jesus to show, right? That's what real strength is. So he's encouraging them, and he ends this letter really not with this instruction of here's all the things you have to believe. Here's all the things that you need to do. Boom, 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 boom. Make sure you do this and do this and do this. No, he culminates it with this way of being in the world. And this way of being in the world was one who rejoiced always. That there was a measure of just joy in life. To pray continually. That you didn't have to go into your, this is the time of day that I pray, and I have to formalize it, and I have to figure out how to do it, and I have to get it all right. This earliest writing is no, walk with the divine. Bring the divine into everyday normal life. As you're rejoicing always, pray continually. Be in relationship with God. Be in relationship with what is beyond you. Be in relationship with love's call into your life. And then he says, give thanks in all circumstances. Now, it's important we recognize Paul does not say to give thanks for all circumstances. Can I get an amen for that one? Amen. Paul does not say everything that happens to your life you should be grateful for because it is God at work, refining you. I mean, I could preach that message. I probably did at some point in time when I was, when I knew everything. Which, I mean, it's still today, let's be honest. But now I know what I didn't know. I'm just kidding. Right? Paul isn't saying that, and that's a super important distinction. Paul isn't saying, hey, be grateful that life is hard. Be grateful that you're having to make tough decisions. Be grateful that the government shut down and you lost your job for 5 weeks and didn't get paid. Be grateful for this moment you're in. No. He's saying even when life is hard, even when you feel all of the doubt and the uncertainty and the anxiety, don't lose your ability to see the light. In the darkest moments, don't lose your ability to see the light, because gratitude for Paul wasn't about politeness. It wasn't about toxic positivity. It was about perspective. It was about a perspective that says you're not alone in this world, and that in the darkness, in the most difficult times, in the anxieties, and remember, Paul thinks the end of the world is happening before he dies. He sees all of these things as evidence. And he's saying we've got to rejoice even in that. He's saying you've got to keep your heart open when the world tries to close it. You got to keep your heart open to one another, open to truth, open to love, open to grace, open to light. Now, it's interesting, this past week, I had a couple of conversations that came back to this image of fireflies. Right now, I'm going to switch from the third person to the second person. I'm going to say, you all don't have fireflies. Now, I should say we all, because I've been here 6 years now, but I grew up with fireflies, right? Like I spent like junior high and high school in Indianapolis, which was city, and so like if we ever got to where there was some grass, a field out there. But when I started dating Wendy, like she lived out in the country, which was a whole new experience for me. I was like, what the heck is going on out here? Like, this is nuts. Like, where's your neighbor? Like, holy cow. You know everybody in your zip code? How's that even possible? So, but we'd have fireflies, and you'd go out into fields, and I'm not going to tell you what my spouse and her brother would do to fireflies, but more humane people go out and watch them, They look at them. I'm in so much trouble today. You think the vote is going to get me in trouble. Nope. No. But, fireflies are fascinating, right? You really can't see them during the day. They may glow a little in the day, but they really don't. But when they do, you'd never see them. You'd never be able to tell. The bioluminescence isn't bright enough. But when it's dark, they shine. And they just shine, and they come back. And they shine, and they disappear. And they shine. And I had 2 or 3 conversations this week, for whatever reasons, about fireflies. People are starting to see them around here in Colorado. Jim and I were just talking. He's like the college professor telling me like evolution, and they're coming to Colorado, and they can survive the high altitude, and they have little scuba tanks now. I don't know. I mean, it was fascinating, My eyes glazed over. I was like, I don't know what is going on. He's too smart for me. So he just kept coming back to this image, and it really made me think about gratitude and the relationship to a firefly, and that a firefly's light, it isn't blinding. It doesn't get rid of the reality of darkness. It's pretty small, it's fragile, yet it's breathtakingly beautiful. And one firefly doesn't really change the night. If you're out and standing in a field and you see one firefly, that really doesn't do much. It's like, was that a firefly? But a swarm of fireflies, that changes the whole experience of darkness. And it fills the darkness with wonder. And that's why we stand there and we watch them. And some of you are like, what are you talking about, Ryan? You said at the very beginning, we don't have fireflies. I have no idea what you've been talking about the last 5 minutes. Google it. But if you ever see a field of fireflies in the middle of the night, and they're all lighting up in their own way, it fills your heart with wonder and it illuminates that darkness. And I think that's what gratitude does. I think that's what happens every time you and I give thanks. Every time you and I live from a space of gratitude, we have this little bioluminescence of spiritual light in the world, in the darkness. Every act that we do in response to something that is in essence an act of gratitude, like all that stuff you saw in the videos, like all the events that we've put on, all the ways in which we create space for everyone, all of those things that we do are done in a spirit of gratitude for one another, for love, for what God is doing and has been doing in our hearts and our lives. And when we do that all together as a community, it fills the darkness with wonder. It makes a huge impact. And so this morning, as we celebrate and get ready for the business meeting side of things, right, we have to come with gratitude for the past. We come with gratitude and we say, yes, there are times where gratitude feels complicated. Yes, maybe this year brought joy, but maybe it also brought loss. And maybe you've seen growth, or maybe you've just felt grief. But gratitude isn't a transaction. It's not something that we do only when it feels good, or we do so that we feel good. It's the way that we stay connected to goodness. It's the way that we stay connected to love. It's the way that we stay connected to what we might call God. Even when the path is uncertain, even when we feel a sense of darkness. Gratitude is not saying everything is fine. It says, even now, there's still light. And sometimes we have to let other people shine for us. And when we can be in community with people that can offer their gratitude in our grief, their gratitude in our acute pain, rather than see that as an opportunity to criticize, rather than see it as an opportunity to say, well, that's just pie in the sky, we just lean in and we let that gratitude light our path. And so when we offer gratitude, we are joining God, we're joining the divine, we're joining God in saying that darkness will not have the last word. Despair will not have the last word in our lives. And so today I want to celebrate how we have done that together. How we have done that in the midst of financial struggles, how we have done that in the midst of attendance struggles, how we have done that in the midst of all those things, how this church has always been resilient, has always said, we're going to shine bright, right? That's what we've done. And so this year, our church, you all, right, we've been fireflies of gratitude, just shining light all over the darkness in our city and in our region. And I would submit that we're even shining light in our faith tradition of Christianity that can feel very broad these days and can feel very unnerving at times. We've been living out our values in ways that shine light in countless directions. Inside your program is a little brochure. I want everybody, if you wouldn't mind, pulling this out for me. Would you pull this out? So we're gonna show some gratitude, and we're gonna celebrate the past so we don't have to take up time in the annual business meeting to do it. But if you look on this front, it says peacemaking in 2025. And it lists, like as an organization, these 5 values that we live into kind of corporately, and we also encourage us as individuals to live into. And you can see there, and you can read that generosity, courageously bringing hope with open hands, right? And you can see how we have given thousands of hours. We've given thousands of dollars. We've given meals. We've given hope. You can look at the bottom and you can see just how generous we've been, like the donations that have come in over this past year, right, to fund this work, to make it possible. Many of us giving well above and beyond what we normally give through our Unique Light campaign for these 2 years as we discern our path forward as a church. We've lived graciously and generously, and each act of generosity said, we believe light can overcome the darkness. We've lived into our value of inclusion. We made room for everyone. We launched new programs. We opened doors. We created safe spaces where everyone could belong. We lived into our value of wisdom. We keep asking deep questions. Your questions that we looked at in our summer series this last year, right, that you asked for, they were amazing questions. I just wanted to run and hide. I gave the tough ones to Brooke and Aisha. But we had an amazing time of like seeking wisdom and not rules, not easy answers, and recognizing that the real power is in wrestling with the questions, not finding the answer that has to be the answer forever. We've lived into that value of wisdom. We've trusted that the divine's truth is really big enough for our searching and for our questions. We've lived into our value of creativity. We've dreamed up new ways of loving people creatively. We had our Blue Christmas evening last year for the first time, which was just this very creative opportunity to hold space for grief and loss and pain in the midst of a season that we also want to hold joy and hope in. And so that was beautiful. Through generous giving and creativity, a portion of our early adventure center in that hallway was converted into this mini kitchen. And through generosity of people in our church, we've been able to give 2 snacks a day for free to our kids in the early learning center. Absolutely free for families that couldn't afford snacks. Because of what we've done, because of y'all's generosity, these ideas get turned into light. And yes, fun. Fun is our value, right? Fun, joy, we've laughed, we danced, we had Batman. Granted, that was this year, but we had Batman and the Joker, but it's fresh in your memory, so I'll bring up that one. But we hosted Spooky Palooza, we had our summer camps, we had our Happy Givers trip, lots of fun in doing great work with that partner. We did events all throughout the year. I hope we have a little bit of fun when we gather on Sunday mornings, Some of you don't realize how much you hurt my feelings when you will come up to me and you'll say things like, "You should be a stand-up comedian." Which is what you're saying is you are an awful pastor, but you're kind of funny. Maybe give that a shot, throw in some curse words. I think you can make it, I know you don't mean it that way, but it only takes me a couple years to get over each one of those comments. Don't worry about it. I'm a mess. No. We have fun. And each of those moments, every time you and I volunteer, every time we act with kindness, every time we give $1, 50 cents, $100, every time we pray together, every time we laugh together, it's just a flicker of light in a dark world. I think that you and I think we have been fireflies of gratitude this last year, and I think we have, in a special way, we've brought darkness into spaces that maybe we didn't realize were dark or we didn't understand all across our city and our region. And we bring this idea and this vision of a beautiful gospel, that the goodness and the grace of God, that the love that is divine is beyond what we could ever imagine. That while we are always trying to set up barriers and boundaries and we're always trying to create the other, love calls us to remove those barriers. Even within our own tradition, as we stand as people who, maybe some of us still hold that word Christian, but we recognize that there are others who hold that word and we don't maybe share all the same values. But our peacemaking path guides us to know that we're called to love our enemies and we're called to pray for those who persecute us and we're called to do unto others as we would have them do unto us. Even when it's in our own tradition, even when it's with churches down the street that don't agree with our values, that somehow we have to sow love into that space. Somehow we have to sow inclusion into that space. And that's what separates a Christian politic, a Christian way of being in the world, than just living as a left or a right person or a center person. It's that Jesus actually does call us to engage differently. And our tradition tells us that we don't wrestle with flesh and blood, and that we should be praying for people. We should be praying for our other churches, that they would experience a love that transforms, just like I experienced a love that transformed. I refuse to scapegoat groups and Christians that I don't agree with, because I know I'm a product of grace. I'm a product of meeting people who changed me. I'm a product of meeting the prodigal on the side of the road. And if I've been changed by grace as a person who called themselves a Christian, I have to believe that others can. And I have to believe that the pathway to that is love, because that's what I experienced. When I excluded, the people that I excluded loved me and showed me what Jesus really was all about. And I think it's beautiful that that's the kind of church we are. And that's the kind of people we are in very complex and complicated spaces. So maybe today, the invitation before we vote and we ask our questions and we hopefully behave as peacemakers in an annual church business meeting. And I want to say this, like, I don't really care how you vote. I really don't. Like, my job isn't to convince you to vote a certain way. Like, you're loved. We're our church. Vote yes, vote no, whatever. Like, maybe the invitation today through it all is to just pause and look for our own Firefly moment. Like, what's one thing, big or small, that we can be grateful for from this past year? One thing in your life. Maybe as we have communion today, that's the invitation. That's the next steps. That's what God is inviting you into, is to just hold the bread and the cup until you can somehow, in the midst of your pain and your sorrow and your sadness and your doubts and your fear of the future, all the things that we bring into this space, that we kind of sift past that muck and we find that one thing that reminds us that love is with us and laughter heals and hope is present. That one flicker of light. Maybe it has been a hard season. I know it has been for our family. And maybe you can't find a long list of blessings, but maybe we can just find one. Maybe we can find one breath, one person, one memory of beauty that we hold to in this moment from this last year, and that's where gratitude can begin. And maybe we can then be grateful that we are the church, that we are the people we've been waiting for, that there is a bigger table, that love is at work. And we can hold these cups and we can hold our gratitude not just for the individual things in our lives, but we can be grateful for one another. And we can be grateful for the call to be the church, to care for our widows and our orphans in our community. And to do that regardless of a vote, and to celebrate one another and be joyful in all things. And so you are invited to the table today, a table of gratitude for the past year. To be grateful for one another, to be grateful for yourself, to be grateful for past and present struggles that teach us how to love one another and to lean into one another. And so whether this is your first time or your last time at Crossroads Church, you are welcome to this table. This is a table of grace, of inclusion. It is a reminder that no greater love has ever existed than a person lay down their life for someone else. And that's what we're reminded in this. That's the kind of love that transforms our world. That's the kind of love that will rescue Christianity from the hands of exclusion and fear. That's the kind of love that can change our hearts and transform me. And if you're a kid here today, you're welcome to come and get a Jesus snack. And so I want to invite you to stand. We're going to sing this song, Let Us Be the Church, as just kind of a way of closing out this experience as we celebrate the past year, as we get ready to think about our future and what it might look like. The body of Christ broken for you, the blood of Christ shed for you.
Full of good works that you prepare. Fruits of faith, the pure and unstained, to serve orphans and widows in their pain, to keep ourselves from pride and in trial and temptation to remain. So let your kingdom come and let your will be done. Let us be your hands and feet, Lord. Let us serve as one. And let us be the church. Let us take courage. May the world see Christ in his people. Let us be your hope. By the power of the Spirit, for the love of Jesus Christ, let us be the church. Teach us how to love and how to live. Teach us to show up when no one will. As children of your mercy, may the love of Christ in us be evident. Oh, may the love of Christ be evident. Let us be the church. Let us take courage, and may the world see Christ in his people. Let us bring your hope by the power of his Spirit, for the love of Jesus Christ. Let us be the church. Let us be the church. Set us apart to be your servants in the world. Set us apart, oh Lord. Set us apart to be your servants in the world. Set us apart, oh Lord. For we can see you in the faces that we serve. Oh, we can see you, Lord. Oh, help us see you, Lord. And let us be the church. Let us take courage. May the world see Christ in his people. Let us bring your peace by the power of his Spirit, for the love of Jesus Christ. Oh, let us be the church. Let us take courage, and may the world see Christ in his people. Let us bring your hope by the power of his Spirit, for the love of Jesus Christ. Until the work is finished and all be made right, let us be the church. Let us be the church.
Thank you, band. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. In just a minute, I'm going to ask the room host to come around and collect your Connect cards, any donations, and you can throw in your pens. While you're getting that ready, I do have a few instructions with regards to the business meeting portion of our morning. The business meeting will begin about 20 minutes after the end of the service. That's enough time for those of you with kids to go grab them from the kids' hallways and get checked in. If you're a member who plans to vote in the meeting, you need to check in at the table in the atrium to receive your ballots. Yes, there are 2 ballots, okay? Then you can make your way back into the auditorium, and then we'll get started. Don't forget, bell ringing, all right? That's all I have for you. Room host, please come around and collect cards and donations and pens, and we'll wrap up shortly.
Reach out now, take our hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now, take our hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now, take a hand, help somebody while we can. Things will get better when we learn to love somebody, love somebody. Reach out now, take a hand, help somebody while
That's a good line to end on. Going into an annual business meeting. Will know us by our love. I want to invite to stand, receive our blessing today as we head out, as we prepare for to gather again together. Can you do me a favor? Just take a nice big old breath. Now look at your watch and realize he can finish on time. Open your hearts, open your hands, receive this blessing. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, because when you do, you glow. And when we all glow together, when we live with open, grateful hearts, our community becomes something radiant and alive, like 1,000 fireflies rising over the fields of Loveland and the surrounding communities and the towns across our region. So may your gratitude be like a firefly in the night, small but shining, bright but beautiful, brief but powerful, reminding the world that light still lives here. And may we be a swarm of grace and gratitude, lighting the way for our city, our region, and our world. Amen. Amen. We'll see you in a few minutes.